Hey everyone, welcome to GoneDrivin. For this week's video, I have my hands on the 2023 BMW X1, which is newly redesigned for the new model year, and we're going to be looking at what's new about it, what's interesting, and what's cool. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, subscribe, and enjoy the video. Now, many of you are probably aware of the BMW 3 Series, and it's a very popular model because it's the entry-level car that many people or many customers buy to get into the BMW brand. What you may not have known is the X1 has a very similar appeal to it. So basically, the X1 is the smallest SUV that BMW offers, and for many people, this has been a great way to get into the BMW brand. The previous generation of the X1, I personally feel like really lived in the shadows of BMW's best-selling SUVs, the X3 and the X5. But with this new redesign, I think this is exactly what the X1 needed, and I think now there's a lot more hope for this model. And of course, a special thanks to Denver at Parkview BMW for hooking me up with the X1 to review today. If you're in the Greater Toronto area or in the Toronto area and looking for a new or used BMW, make sure you check out Denver at Parkview BMW. I'll leave his information down below. With the redesign, I do feel like the biggest change, or something that I noticed right off the bat, were the actual dimensions of the car. So BMW says that the X1 is now taller, longer, and wider than its previous generation. And honestly speaking, I do see that, especially in the front end here. I feel like this is a lot more squared and boxed, but it still feels like it's got a more grown-up look to it than the previous generation, which I really, really like. And I think overall, the design elements of this car are very much based off of the X3. The new X1 also comes with a revised engine, which is a 2-liter twin-turbo 4-cylinder engine that produces 241 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, which I feel like is ample for this small SUV. It's also mated with a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, and 0 to 100 is about 6.4 seconds, which is pretty good. The all-new X1 will have a base price of $44,000 Canadian, plus features on any options you choose to get. The one that I have here in front of me today is the Hey spec, so this is a combination of different features and packages combined in. But the X1 will usually have a baseline, an X-Line, and then an M Sport, whichever one you choose to get. All of them will be equipped with the X-Drive system, which is BMW's all-wheel drive system. From the side, I love how the X1 is a lot more grown up and sophisticated, and it looks taller, and it really looks like the SUV that it should be. Before the last generation, I feel like it looked a little boxy, and it had this weird design going on to it that I did not like. But now it looks a lot better, and there is one complaint that I have from the side, and that is the door handles. I do not like how they kind of covered up here. We've seen this in the 2 Series as well, and I do not like how you have to actually put your hand underneath here to open it up. It just, I feel like this area here is just really short and it's really low, so it's kind of inconvenient to open the door, especially with a family or anything like that. I don't think it's the best option. Obviously, there is the hands-free or keyless entry system, but even then, not the biggest fan of it. But besides that, the side of the X1 looks pretty nice. You can also option on the 20-inch rims on the new X1, which is a first for the new X1 generation here. You can start off with the 18-inch wheels, and then you can go all the way up to the 20 inches, which is really nice. I love how these rims look, so really good choice by BMW. The all-new X1 also comes with brand new headlights. BMW says that these are the LED headlights with a cornering function, which are pretty nice. This does remind me of the X3, the X3 LCI. They look like they were taken exactly from there, as well as the new 3 Series that they put out, again the LCI one. But again, very nice, very bright, and also the taillights of the X1 are also standard LEDs. The rear end of the X1 is completely redesigned as well, as we would expect. Starting off with the taillights that we have here, they look pretty nice. They remind me of the X3, the LCI X3 that they have right now. Looks very similar to that. These are obviously fully LEDs, as I was mentioning earlier. LED is standard for the new X1. Looks really nice. I think this is also just kind of adds to the whole muscular and sharp, sporty design of the X1. We've also got this winding down shape of the whole body of the car. We've also got this spoiler here, winds down. It looks cool. I don't know if you want to call it a spoiler, but we'll call it that for now. We've also got this rear wiper here. I do wish that they would hide it underneath here, but obviously it is what it is. So we've also got this rear bumper here. So this is part of the X-Line package. I know with the M Sport, it will be a little bit different. But besides that, the rear end of the X1, pretty solid. All right, now let's go ahead and look at the trunk space of the new X1. So we've got a powered lift tailgate, which is really nice. I think that's an essential now in a small SUV. And then with the trunk space in general, I feel like this is a little bit bigger because of the dimensions growing of the X1. So again, I feel like you could put probably 2 suitcases and anything else that you wanted to. But overall with the trunk space, very ample amounts of space, and I think this is really solid. Now with the exterior changes out of the way, I think it's time that we check out the new interior of the all-new X1. All right, now sitting in the inside of the all-new X1, and I gotta say, it is very futuristic, very technologically advanced, and that was really something that wowed me. As soon as you sit into the X1, you're greeted by this massive curved display here, and it does look new for the X1 because it is, but it's actually been introduced in the iX as well as some of the other BMW models, so not the first time that I've seen this, but it looks very, very nice for this car, and I think it looks fantastic for this type of SUV. So we've got a 10-inch screen in the gauge cluster here, then a 10-inch screen for the infotainment. It is completely touchscreen, which is nice. It's very responsive, don't get me wrong. However, my concern is that there's no hard buttons, or there's very minimal hard buttons. So the only place where there's really hard buttons is right over here, which is the armrest area here, which is kind of like a floating space, which looks cool, don't get me wrong. But this area here, not the biggest fan of it. We've got our entertainment controls here, so your volume as well as rewind and skip buttons here. You've got some modes for changing your actual drivetrain, so sport, eco, or normal, whatever you like, as well as auto hold. And then you've got your gear shifter, which, as many of you might have seen in other BMWs, they don't have the actual gear shifter anymore. It's just like a little brawn trimmer. That's what I call it. Yeah, that's right. You just use this to toggle between your gears. A little bit weird, but I think it just takes time to get used to. Then you've also got your start engine stop right here. But what I do not like is the climate control buttons are missing. They're not there anymore, and I do not like it. I know I've said this in other reviews as well, but you have to actually, to use your climate control features, you have to actually go into the screen and toggle through it, which is really inconvenient, I feel like, especially because I'm just so used to hard buttons, and I feel like most people would be. And you know, as much as I'm all for touchscreen, climate control buttons, please leave them on. Then we've also got our two cup holders here. They're not heated or cooled, and to my knowledge, they are not optional either, which is a little bit unfortunate because I feel like all SUVs deserve to have these type of features. They're very important. I know the X5 and the X7 does come with it, but the X1 doesn't come with it, which is a little bit disappointing. You've also got two USB-C ports here in case you want to charge your devices. Then you've also got a charging mat, but this one is actually for upright. So you put your phone upright, which is kind of interesting because usually charging mats were all horizontal, but with this one, you just put your phone right here, you tuck it in, you just use this feature to lock them, or I guess hold it secure, and that's it. Alright, so just before I go ahead and start the new X1, I also wanted to make a note of the fact that these seats are Sensitech upholstery, so there is no leather or leatherette. A little bit unfortunate, but I guess it's one of the cost-cutting measures in the X1, which is okay. You've also got some ambient lighting here, so there's no real option for you to change about them. But the way you can actually change them is through your drive mode. So you can get comfort, sport, or eco, and that's how the color of the lights changes. So now let's go ahead and start the car, and I'll show you how that works. So start the engine right here. It's relatively quiet in the previous generation, but I guess that's part of the new revision of the new engine that they put into this car. So now, if you want to change the lights of the X1 here, what you do is you go to your My Modes, and then you select Personal, which is essentially comfort, or you can go between Sport, which changes your lights to red, or you can change it to Efficient, which is Eco mode basically, and that changes to blue as well. Alright, so currently sitting behind the wheel of the new X1, and I gotta say the drive so far has been very smooth, and I think the engine itself, they really did revise it, or it almost seems like an overhaul. I mean, compared to the last generation X1, the engine felt a little bit more clunky, and it didn't feel as smooth as this one. I know that they got rid of the actual touch start stop feature with this X1, so you can actually turn that feature on and off. It just always remains on. I don't know if that's got to do with the regulations or not, but that's not there anymore for you. And also, as I mentioned earlier, the X1 does not come with a control knob, so everything is literally touchscreen, which sucks a little bit, but it is what it is. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and floor this new engine that BMW calls and see how it does. So I'm gonna put it into sport mode here in a second, and I mean, by no means is it an M performance car, but it gets going again pretty quickly, especially in the highways or any merging or you know, any lane switches that you might have to do. The sport mode will be just ample and enough. And I also have to say, you know, speaking of the touchscreens, the fact that the driving modes in this car and the fact that they're actually all through the screen is a little bit disappointing. Like, there is a button that says My Modes, but in order for you to actually go into sport, you click this button and then you touch sport or efficient or whatever mode you want to get into, which is a little bit annoying, really. I really feel like for city driving, for some day-to-day city driving, this car is really nice, especially because this, you know, is not a very big car to maneuver through neighborhoods and cities and stuff like that. And it's got all the premium tech that you need or that someone might want in a, you know, a daily driver. I also do know that the new X1 also comes with virtual augmented reality heads-up display, which is really cool, especially for a small SUV. I don't think I've ever seen that before, which is really cool to see, you know, in a sub $50,000 car, you see these type of features. Again, obviously it is an optional feature available. I can't see it on this one here. I don't think this one's equipped with it, but again, if you do want that and you want that extra tech, it is available for you. Now in front of me, I do have the 10-inch fully digital gauge cluster screen here. It's very much similar to the iX that I drove a couple of months ago. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you go ahead and watch it. I'll put the link up top. But I mean, this is pretty much identical to that. So again, with the iDrive 8, things are different. So you can kind of obviously customize lots of different things within your gauge cluster, which is really cool to see, especially again in an X1, an entry-level SUV. You've got lots of different options, lots of different cool things to mess around with, which is really nice. And again, same thing goes for the actual entertainment screen here. So exact same layout and system as the iX. So that is really cool to see as well. Having said all that, I do genuinely believe that this X1 and this new redesign and all the changes with it is exactly what this model needed. I feel like, for many years now, the X1 has been overlooked by many customers, especially, with the X3 and the X5 being in the mix. It makes it definitely hard for the X1 to stand out. But now, with all these changes and I think, this very mature design language of the car, I think this is exactly what the customers are going to like and potentially buy into. So if you're looking for a daily driver BMW and looking for a vehicle to get it into the BMW brand, the X1 is where you need to start. Besides that, I'll see you guys next time with a brand new video. Take care.